Devel. In this 9th tutorial, we want to do HTML forms. Forms is a container for all user inputs. This is what I mean by input. Save and refresh. It's a dialog box. It allows the users to enter some information. So forms are used to collect information from the client side. So there are so many types of inputs. So the first type, which is the default, is the text. So that's the syntax. So saving and refreshing, it is still the default. Letters, numbers and symbols still go there. Now if you want to label the input, we have two main methods. First of all is to use the placeholder. This is another kind of the attribute, and the label that will be visible is here. For example, I need the user to enter the first name. So if you save, refresh, you will see how the placeholder work. So you will see that text is inside the input value. So the default input characters here in this dialog box is 20 characters. So whenever you start typing anything, that placeholder disappears. So it's just a label. Another way of adding a label is by use of the label tag. So a label tag has an opening and closing. Then you say first name, for example. Try to save and refresh. So you will see first name as a label. Then the user will know that here I'm supposed to enter the first name. So I will introduce some of the attributes, but I'm not going to use them now. Is name attribute. So name attribute is used by PHP. When we shall be in PHP tutorials, you will see the importance of the name attribute. And another attribute is called the ID. So ID, explain them in the next tutorial. They are used by the CSS or JavaScript to uniquely style or to uniquely customize that input. So I can do the same. So I want to insert a break here, a break, and repeat the same for other inputs. So I can do the same for, I will copy and paste name, and here enter your last name. Here we include L, here L. So try to save, refresh. Yeah, nice, it looks nice. Other type of input is date. So I've used a date of birth with label and a placeholder, and the input type is date. So let us see how date works. Save. Allow the users to enter their date. Like for example, you want to collect their information about the date of birth. So every browser has its own default type. Like you click today, it will give the date of today. Other type of input is email. Email is here. So try to type the email and see how it will function. So I will save and refresh. So the email allows the users to insert the email. So if you write without an @ it will reject. So you must include @gmail.com, @yahoo, all other types of email. Other type is a password. So if I save and refresh, so it allows the password input. So that's the default. So it just gives the dots, but whatever you are writing is not visible to the users because the password are secret information. So you need to hide them. If you want to customize, you use CSS. So I have used a lot of input types, the radio and I have also used another type of checkbox and submit. So let me explain you after refreshing on the browser. So whenever I refresh, yeah, so I'll just preview. This is the input type is the text, the input type is the text, and here the input type is the date, and the input type is the email. Here is the password, create password and confirm password, and here the input type is radio. So radios normally allow users to select a choice among the multiple one of them. Then here the input type is the checkbox, so it enables the users to select one or more than or zero choices, but here it only allow you to select one of them. You can't select all of them. So in some of the websites, they give a default value, like for example they can say when the page load the default value is male, so that the user, if he miss out the point, then it will submit as male. So this is how you do. You go to input type radio, and if you want the male to be the default, you just add checked. So if you refresh, you will see male is the default checked radio button. So if the user leaves it blank without confirming here, it will submit as male. Now if you want to validate forms, but more validation is done by PHP or JavaScript. That's one of the reasons why JavaScript was invented. You can say that users must fill all the fields before hitting the submit button. So now here you just include the word required in each input. Refreshing. I want to see here, when you hover it, there's a pop-up a tooltip saying please fill out this field. So if you try to omit, maybe you are saving here, you have done here, and you forgot where the required field is and you want to submit, yeah, so a text will say that please fill out this field. So that's the work of required, so that we don't create bugs in database. So before the user submit the information, it should be correctly filled or all filled. Try to go and practice these ones and research more on their attributes. The last point was on submit. So if the default submit button is it looks like a button down here. So here it allows some action after filling all the information. The information need to be submitted somewhere. So how can we submit, and how do we know where it is going? So mostly the information should be submitted on the database, and it should also be private. So you will specify here at the opening tag of the form the action. So action here, you will specify the URL where the information need to be submitted. So for example, you may want to submit in for example action page.php. So PHP normally runs on the database. So there is also a method. We have so many HTTP methods like post. You can use get, patch. The most common is post and get. So those ones I've explained better in PHP tutorials how they work. Thank you. See in the next tutorial we shall do HTML IDs and classes. And remember this, all possibilities in life are infinite.